Hey folks, Lenny Lawson here, the Car Guru. One thing that I forget to do is, especially because of the podcast. Now, you folks who listen on local radio, you've probably heard it before. You may, probably know who I am and so forth, because I've been around for 25 years doing this. But people on a podcast don't know. So I'm a new car dealer in Greenville, Tennessee. I've been in car business for 47 years. Consistently, that's all I've done. I've owned 5 new car dealerships at once, and had a lot of experience in all different aspects. I started in a cleanup shop at my dad's Chevy store in Greenville, Tennessee back in 1974 in high school, graduated from college in 78 at University of Tennessee, and then I went immediately to work for my father. And we expanded and got involved in other dealerships over time. I had multiple franchises, Chevrolet, Oldsmobile, Mazda, Toyota, Mitsubishi, Ford, Lincoln, Mercury, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Plymouth. No, take Jeep off. I get used to lumping Chrysler and Jeep together, but Chrysler, Plymouth, and Dodge when there was a Plymouth. And I'm trying to think what else. Oh, Nissan, of course, and of course we currently have a Ford dealership and a Nissan dealership. So that's who I am. So that gives, I think it should give me some credibility when it comes to knowing a lot about the car industry, how it works, how car dealers work, how consumers interact with car dealers, the mistakes that many consumers make. I decided many years ago to take off my car dealer hat and put on my car guru hat to help people make better decisions buying, selling, trading automobiles, servicing as well, dealing with body shops, just about everything automotive. So that's the background. Sorry for you who already knew that. Now, my latest project is the Car Guru Guidebook, and it will be coming out next week in digital form. It will be regularly updated as necessary as the industry changes. And one of the key chapters, really probably the first chapter of that book, I haven't exactly decided on order, but I think buying a new car should be the first chapter. And I'm going to go over some of the key points of that today so that you can understand the value of having the guidebook with you when you go in to buy a new car, or at least reviewing it in detail before you go in to buy a new car. Because in most circumstances, most dealers are going to throw a couple curveballs at you. They're not going to want to do it the way that I'm telling you to do it. Why would that be? Because it interferes with their process that they've found works the best to maximize profit. You don't want them to maximize profit. You want, I think you understand they have to make a profit, okay? But you want it to be minimal. You want it to be lower than average, let's say. You don't want to be the home run that everybody's, in the sales meeting the next morning, they're all giving each other high fives. You don't want that to be, you don't want you to be the subject of the high fives. You want them to be a little bit sullen when they walk into that sales meeting. Boy, I had to give one away yesterday. That's what you want your salesperson saying. Or the sales manager saying, okay, guys, this is not how we want to do this anymore. That's what you want them saying about you. But you've got your car, right? Or your truck or whatever. You've paid less for it because of me. And that's good. That's a good thing for you. The dealership will survive. All dealers have, they have cars that they have to practically give away. Not in terms of the sale price, because it's still a lot of money, but as far as their profit is concerned. And they have cars that they hit home runs on. You just never want to be a home run. And I can tell you how to avoid that. But again, you're going to get pushback from them. But, the guidebook is there to give you courage and a step-by-step process to get the very best deal possible on a new car every time. Now, there is a caveat. Some dealers would just say, no, we're not going to do that. Let's say that you walk into a Toyota dealership and you're wanting to buy a RAV4 hybrid. Now, when you get out of your car, if you see the RAV4s, you walk over to it, you're going to see a window sticker. factory MSRP label that's required by the federal government. It's going to be right there. It's going to show the standard option or the standard features, then the options that were ordered on that particular vehicle, and it's going to give you the freight and the MSRP. But then there's a little supplemental sticker. It's over to the right or to the left, usually to the right, and it has a bunch of other things added on there. Now, if you're trying to buy a hybrid RAV4, you're probably at some dealerships, you're probably going to have to pay the MSRP plus that little addendum sticker is what we call it in the industry. And you're not going to want to. And I can tell you how to avoid it at most dealerships. Now, there are some that play real hardball when it comes to their added charges because they know that if you don't buy it, there's somebody that's going to walk in the next 10 minutes and pay that price. So at that point, there's a decision you have to make. How badly do I want this vehicle? And am I willing to pay that for it? Now, let's say you have to pay way over window sticker for a RAV4 hybrid. Well, number one, why would you? Because if you're paying $4,000 or $5,000 more just to get a hybrid over just a regular RAV4, what's the logic behind that? Oh, I hear a lot of people saying, well, you get better gas mileage. Yeah, really? Okay, so you get better gas mileage. How long is it going to take you to overcome that extra $5,000 that you paid in gas savings? Tell me. It's going to take a long time because you figure the difference in fuel economy, multiply it by the number of gallons and cost per gallon of gas, and divide that into the $5,000, and it'll give you about how many years? Well, maybe I left out one of the variables, but you understand what I'm saying. It'll be years, maybe longer than your normal ownership cycle. It may take you 8 years to recover the extra $5,000 in fuel savings. Well, I don't want to keep a car 8 years. So, see, that's what I mean. Let's say you'd like to trade every 3 years or 4 years or right before the vehicle runs out of warranty or at 5 years or at 150,000 miles. You'll never save that money. So this is one of many considerations, but I'm going to review just the very first part of Chapter 1, buying a new car, and review the critical 4 targets again. Matter of fact, this is my most famous topic on my Car Guru podcast. It's had more downloads than just about any other show. It's because it's just critical, because it could save you literally thousands and thousands of dollars if you handle this right. So I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back, and I know that some of you out there, if you're in the market for a car, you're saying, why do I have to go through this? Because that's just the way it is, folks. The model is not going to change just because you want it to change. Just because a dealer says, well, we just sell cars for one price and don't negotiate. That doesn't change anything, because that person that's going to that dealership can just pack their bags and go someplace else. If they think that price is too high, they'll go shopping. Most people will. That's why the typical one price concept at most car dealerships that have tried it fails, because the competitors eat their lunch with discounts, and because consumers will not reward the guy who operates a upfront, straightforward pricing policy, because they'll still shop it. Not everybody, but the vast majority will still shop them. Rightfully so, in my mind, because I believe that negotiation is the best way to get a great deal on a car. So let's dig in. The 4 targets. Well, there are 4 targets if you have a trade-in. There's only 3 targets if you don't have a trade-in. So let's assume that you do, and that'll cover just about everybody. Now, when I'm talking about hitting a target, where do you want to hit the target? That's right, bullseye, right in the middle. That means you paid the lowest price, you got the best deal on the right car. Before we get into the 4 specific targets, please let me emphasize that the deal doesn't matter if it's not the right car. If your needs dictate that you just need to own a 3-row SUV or a minivan. If you buy a 2-row SUV, you're going to be unhappy. I don't care how good the monthly payment is. So please, folks, always buy the right car that matches your needs and your wants. It's got to pass the driveway stink test. That's when you wake up the next morning, or every morning you wake up and you go and you see that thing sitting in your driveway. Does it stink, or are you happy? Because you still got to make the monthly payment. I mean, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that the bank, is going to say, well, since he doesn't like it, let's just cut him slack. Let's drop the payment, or just let him skip a few payments. Doesn't work that way. So make sure that it's the right vehicle. Okay, let's get into the 4 targets. Number 1 is the sales price on the new car. All of these 4 targets have to be negotiated separately. That's the key. What does the dealership want to do? Lump them all together into the monthly payment. Why? Because you won't know what you're paying for the car then. They can pack all kinds of stuff in there. Not all dealers. These are the bandits that are out there. I call them yahoos and bandits. They're in this market, in the Tri-Cities market, and as soon as you walk into the dealership, you'll see that massive supplemental window sticker or addendum sticker, and you know where you are. So you just have to be prepared for the crap that they're going to throw at you. You negotiate everything separately. Were you going to trade your car? Well, I don't know. It depends on what kind of selling price I can get on this car. Well, we're not going to give you a price if you don't tell us whether you're going to trade. Then give him my keys, and I will leave you to whatever you want to do. Go plan your lunch today. Think about where you're going to go on a date tonight. I'll tell you one thing you won't be doing. You won't be selling me a car. That's a little harsh. I probably wouldn't say it that way. I say, sir, if you won't give me a price on the car, then I'm going to leave. You should be able to come into a car dealership and get a price on a car you're thinking about buying, shouldn't you? So the first target is to get a deal, get a price on the car. So you should be prepared before you walk in there. You've already shopped online. You've already looked at what the invoice price is on the car on Edmunds.com or whatever. All the different places where you can find the MSRP and the invoice on the car that you're looking at. What's the invoice? That's the price that the dealer pays for the car minus his holdback that he gets from the factory. But let's not talk about holdback. As far as I'm concerned, the dealer's entitled to his holdback. Leave his holdback alone. Just forget that it exists. Invoice price. If you can buy a new car for the invoice price, unless it's a car that's just not selling, that nobody wants to buy. If you can buy a car for invoice, you've got a great deal. You should be happy with that. If you pay MSRP, you shouldn't be happy. If you pay somewhere in between, it depends on the supply and demand of that particular car. I can't tell you. There are so many different cars out there that are at different levels of popularity that it's really hard to nail that down. You have to do that research yourself. You know that hybrids are hot right now, don't you? I mean, that's what a lot of people want are hybrids, whether they should buy them or not. I'd rather not. I was telling my salespeople the other day, I drove a Maverick hybrid the other day, drove it home. Gets 44 miles to the gallon in the city, and I think 37 on the highway. That's really good gas mileage. But it doesn't have as much power as I like. When I put my foot on the accelerator, I like it to, go. And it goes, but then I drove the optional engine in a Maverick. I said, that's the one I want. What about the gas mileage savings? Don't care about that. Gas is $2.79 a gallon. And the difference between the two, maybe it's going to cost me an extra $10, $15 a week or whatever to drive this one. I don't care. I'll pay it because I'd rather do that. Some people would not. So you have to decide, is this car a really hot, popular car? If it is, then expect to pay more. Now, if you walk into a Toyota store, for example, and they say, they've got that addendum sticker and they push really hard, all you have to do is say, folks, I'm not paying all that extra stuff. I don't need the luggage rack. I don't need the bike rack. I don't need those funky-looking weather guards that you put, around the windows. Vent visors, I think they call them. I don't need that thing on the front of the hood. That'll beat up the hood anyway. I don't want any of that stuff. I'm not paying for it. Now, I'll pay MSRP and not a penny more. That might be your best deal. Do you feel good about that? Well, if you do feel good about that, now it's time for target number 2, your trade-in. So now you've established the selling price. You know that you can buy this vehicle for, $30,000, and you're good with that. Okay, now I need to see what you're going to pay me for my trade-in. I thought you weren't going to trade. Well, I've decided I might trade. Now, if they try to renegotiate at that point, say, well, we can't pay you for your trade and sell you that vehicle for that price. That's your exit strategy right there. You just, okay, folks, we're done. Leaving. If that's the kind of store you operate here, then we're going someplace else. We're going to the Toyota dealer down the road or the Nissan dealer down the road. But anyway, let's say that they come back and say, okay, we'll give you a figure for your trade. You've already done the research. You know what the market values are on your trade. You've actually sent me the VIN number and the specs, and I've pulled the history, and I've told you what your car's worth. I've told you what I'd be willing to pay for it. If you're too embarrassed to call me or get in touch with me, shame on you. But if you are, then just do the research yourself and find out as close as you can what cars like yours are worth. That's the target. They come back to you and they offer you $3,000 less than that. All you have to do is say, that's unacceptable. I've done some research on my car. I've done market research, and I feel like I can get more than that for my car. And they may say, well, how much more? I said, well, I'm not going to price it for you, but I think you need to be at such and such a number. Maybe it is $3,000 more. It becomes another negotiation. Maybe they get to within $1,000 of your number. You say, okay, that's acceptable. So you take your selling price that you already have minus the trade-in that you now have, then you know how much trading difference you're going to have to pay. Now, in addition to that, you know that there's sales tax. They're probably going to have a processing fee of some kind. It might be $4.95. It might be $9.95. Do you think that's negotiable? Of course it is. A lot of dealerships say, well, that's, we don't negotiate that. Say, well, fine, I'm not paying $9.95 for you to shuffle some paperwork around. The other dealers that I've looked at, their fee is under $500. If you'll do your fees for under $500, give me that for my trade, sell me the vehicle for that price, then we'll keep moving down this road. That's important to nail that down. Okay, so you do have another target that you have to hit. You got the selling price of the car, the trade. Now you got to hit the finance target. And it'll translate to a monthly payment. So you're going to go into the finance office. And you should already know what your credit score is. You should have already talked to a bank and asked them, well, what would I qualify for a car loan based on my income, based on my credit score? Well, you probably qualify for a $35,000 car. And maybe you check with a credit union or whatever, and they tell you that, we can give you a 5.99 rate, and, you can finance this much car. Well, you already know that your selling price minus your trade puts you right in that ballpark. So the third target are the terms of the loan. What's the interest rate? And what's the duration of the loan? If you like to trade every 3 years and you're buying a car that depreciates rapidly, then you do not want to finance it for 84 months. 48 months if you can stand the payment, but 60 months at most. And you need to have, ideally, and most people don't live in ideally land, ideally you would pay 15 to 20% down, and then you're going to be okay. Then you don't need to buy gap insurance because there will be no gap. If you wreck the car or it gets stolen, what your insurance company is willing to pay you will be the market value, and that'll be pretty much equal to your payoff at the bank. But if you finance it all, don't pay anything down, and finance it for 84 months, you're going to be tremendously upside down in the trade and at an extreme financial disadvantage if something bad happens, so you probably should buy gap insurance. What does that do? That jacks up your monthly payment. So the terms are critically important, and you just got to feel comfortable with them. You got to think about it. You got to think about what's your average trading cycle and what makes sense for you to do, and get the emotion out of it. It might make sense for you to walk out of there and just keep your old car for a couple more years until you can save up some down payment. Okay, I'll be back, and then we'll cover the fourth target here in just 1 minute. Okay, so we got the terms, we got the sale price, we got the trade value. We're doing good. We've got us a deal. But now the finance manager is going to throw a menu at us. And it's like kind of a restaurant menu. It's got a bunch of enticing things on it. But you just got to keep in mind that these are products, okay, that he's wanting to sell you. And what he loves to do is translate it to what it costs per month. But you don't care what it costs per month yet. You care what it costs to buy it. So how much is this warranty, extended service contract that you're trying to sell me? Well, it's $4,000. $4,000? Well, the Car Guru said that was too much. Well, who's he? So you probably shouldn't say that. $1,500 to $2,500, somewhere in that neighborhood. If it's a diesel truck, it's going to be more. If it's a BMW or a Porsche or something like that, it's going to be a lot more. But for the average American domestic car or something, that's a fair price. Don't pay $4,000 or $4,500 for a warranty on a Honda Accord. Number one, it's probably not going to break. Number two, whatever breaks, it probably isn't going to cost that much unless it's an engine or a transmission. Now, repairs are very expensive. I get it. But what this finance manager wants to do is tell you how much it's going to cost per month instead of the total. So he says, well, it's only $45 extra a month and you're protected. Yeah, well, $45 a month times 84 months, that's $3,780. That's knocking on the door of $4,000. That's a lot for a warranty on an Accord. It's too much. And then he's going to try to sell you gap insurance. I'll tell you in the book, the guidebook, how much you should pay for that. And then all these different protection packages to protect the wheels and the tires and the door handles, and he might even try to sell you an accessories package, paint sealant, fabric guard, all this other stuff. All of it is overpriced. It's all negotiable. If a guy hits you with $4,000 for an extended warranty, you say, well, I'll give $2,000. What? We don't negotiate warranty. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Go ask your manager. He'll cut it. He may not cut it to $2,000, but he might cut it to $2,500, and then you're getting in the realm of possibility. So, long story short, there's a whole lot of detail here. I've talked too fast, probably, but it's all in the guidebook. It's going to be there where you can just take it, go step by step, and just read it. Or just hold it up and just read it to him, and he'll say, "Well, you're reading this." And just answer the question. And I really do. I think these will sell like hotcakes at the introductory price of $0. Yeah. And, the long-term price, it's going to be $0 as well, because that's what we do at My Car Guru. Well, thanks for listening to this edition. If you don't want to wait for the guidebook, just give me a call, 423-552-2020, or text me, or send an email to LennyLawson2020@gmail.com. And I'll see you next time on the next My Car Guru.